Welcome to the Business Advice Podcast, where we discuss marketing, money and other matters with businessmen around Australia.
Damien, welcome.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me.
We've got Damien on the podcast today. Damien is a veteran. He served in the Air Force. He holds an engineering degree as well from USQ. Damien is the founder of Regcor, which is a cybersecurity company based on the Gold Coast in Australia. Have I got that right?
Absolutely. Perfect. Sounds good.
Excellent. So tell us about your journey. So I know, you've helped a few of the guys in the group with cybersecurity. So I know that side, but where did you come from? What's your origin story?
So origin story. So straight off the bat, I'm half Kiwi. So yeah, whether you hold that against me or not. No, I mean, I was born here in Australia, so I class myself as Australian. But my mother's side of the family was from New Zealand, originally immigrated from Scotland. Oh. So my background is Scottish side and English.
Kirchner. Yeah.
So
yep. Did you spend time in New Zealand?
We did growing up a lot. I didn't actually live there. So Mum moved over when she was 20, I believe. So, just for job opportunities and that sort of thing. So, I was born and raised in Brisbane.
Right.
So, I'm a Brisbane boy from origin as well. So, growing up, we spent a lot of school holidays because we had family property over there, farm and stuff. So, we used to go over most winter and summer holidays to spend time with the grandparents and uncles and cousins and all that sort of thing.
Right. Okay. So holiday over there, but you're Brizzy born and bred. You went to school here, but you spent time over there in New Zealand and here. And Scottish was like former generations, like no direct.
Yeah, the great grandparents from both sides immigrated from Scotland and England. My father's side, so separately, mum and dad met in Brisbane. So
sure,
that's how it all sort of came about and how I exist.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you grew up, you went to school, and then straight into engineering?
No, so I finished school and then I spent a gap year, and my uncle from that had the family property over in New Zealand ended up buying a property here in Australia. So, it was late 90, 98, 99 or just around that time that he bought it. So he's got 65,000 acres out near the Carnarvon Gorge, which is part of the family property per se. So, I spent a year out there basically looking after the farm and managing it. Because he was in and out a lot, traveling between New Zealand and Australia and various other bits and pieces. So that was a good 12 months for me just to decompress from finishing school before I joined the military.
Right, okay. And that's when you say uncle, that's mother's brother?
Yeah, my mum's brother. Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
And that's the New Zealand connection.
Yep.
Right, so gap years on the farm up in Carnarvon Gorge, so central Queensland.
Very central
somewhere.
Queensland,
Yep. And then military. That's where the military starts for you.
Yeah, so the whole process to get accepted into the military is quite a long-winded process. So you go and do all the exams and the tests, medical, psychological, and then you start the process. Once you get through them, you then get told to go and start the process of the security clearance, because that's quite a lengthy process initially as well. So I got all that out of the way, and then it's basically just sitting around waiting for you to get put onto a course. So you carry out your initial basic course. So that's why it sort of took that 12 months to wait until I got issued a letter to attend.
This is late 90s.
This is 2000. So 99 was the year that I spent out the farm, and then beginning of 2000 is when I got the letter to come and join and went down to Adelaide.
Right. So this is even before September 11 and...
Yeah, so this Yeah, this is the military. So I experienced the military pre 9/11, which was very very relaxed security wise. Like driving on and off base was not how it is today. Literally waving at the security guards. That was it. There was no ID scanning or that sort of thing. You could bring on whoever you pretty much wanted to on the base as well, which was just a signature on a piece of paper on a book. So yeah, very very different.
Yeah, yeah. So then, what was your motivation there? What was the draw?
Um, I kind of made the decision in year 10, year 11 that pretty much I was sort of determined that the Air Force was what I wanted to do. I guess, I don't know, maybe I like the structure, the travel opportunities,
Yep,
serving the nation, and, a little bit patriotic
yep, yep.
in there as well. So I think it was a combination of a few things, but it just had something that drew me to it that I wanted to do, and maybe it was a challenge as well. So, um,
Yeah, yep,
yeah. So
yep.
I mean, I had my growing up. I was, had a bit of adversity growing up with my father passing away when I was young, and having that
Right.
whole experience, and then mum bringing my brother and I up for a period of time before she remarried, and then we had our other brother come along. So yeah, I guess it
What
was.
age? What age was that?
I was 3. Yeah, so
Wow. So very
um,
young.
yeah, very young. It was quite a traumatic period of time. I ended up having my mum took me to counselling at a very young age. So probably a few years later, I started sort of, I guess, coming out, blaming mum for it, all that sort of thing.
Yep,
So yeah,
yep.
spent a lot of time in child psychologists and those sort of things to deal with the pain and the fallout, I guess, from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that, I guess, that all that is a combination that drew me to making that decision. Come,
Because you get a paternal structure in the military, which is
you
quite
do,
attractive. And
yeah, and having those, having that camaraderie, the brother sister
mm,
relationship, the hood that they call it, it's like no other. You can't replicate it outside of the military. It, it when you're getting trained to fight and kill, because that's basically what you do, and why military exists,
yep,
it takes you to a whole different level. And the corporate world just can't do that for you. So you can try and
yep.
replicate it as much as you could. And
Or even
I do.
sports, or maybe
Yeah,
a
yeah.
rugby team is the next closest
Sports is
thing.
probably the second closest to it. They treat a game like life and death. So yeah, state of origin, all the big grand
Yeah.
finals, that sort of matches. Yeah, that that sort of comes close, but it still falls short from that.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, you've got a fascinating career, which I mean, we don't want to take up the whole. You could take up probably a podcast on its own just with your career in the military. But do you want to give us just a bit of a summary of that journey, because it's
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah. So like I said, I started my journey at the beginning of 2000. So I went down to Adelaide. Spent 2.5 months down there doing initial basic course, so teaching you to do all the fundamentals and basics of drill and shooting, marksmanship, and then all your core sort of military knowledge. And then from there, I moved over to Melbourne, and I was down in Melbourne for 6 months, 8 months, doing my basic trade course there. So I came on as a satellite technician. So that was my core um, training function, and then from there I got my first posting, which at the end of 2000 I was completed my courses. So my first posting was to Air Command at Glenbrook in Sydney. So we had literally we were my first posting was basically shift work for the first 5 years. So I was down underground. Looking after the secure messaging system to pretty much every military.
And you're like 19, so
I'm
19 to
yeah,
24.
I'm 1920 on a shift with 2 other guys. So I had a sergeant and a corporal at the time. There's 3 of us mainly on shift, and We're dealing with messages that are, secret and below at that level, and everything from making sure that they get through to the ships in the sea via satellite to air command to any command center around the world or in Australia that needed that information.
So this is cybersecurity from day one.
Yeah. So, and then behind the scenes, we had all the equipment that was all secured, and
Sure.
and we were running the original old secure tape with all the dots in it to align to the code, and having to load them in every day to update the crypto code and those sort of things. So yeah, it was a
Wow.
very that system was like coming towards end of life when I joined and came on. So yeah, it's they actually retired it and went for a full digital system probably 5-6 years after I started there.
Wow. I've heard different stories in the military. Like it's a big machine, so everything has to be done right, but it is a big machine, so some things move slowly. So I guess you would have seen the pros and cons of that.
Yeah, they're very. I mean, it's very security focused in any decision making. So I mean,
Especially now, more so now.
more so now, yes, because things are a lot more digital and online than what they used to be.
Of
We
course.
used to have our own ecosystems, which were easier to manage and secure. But yeah, these days it's a lot harder with the internet and plus, cyber attackers have got a lot smarter and savvier as well.
Every month it's changing now, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's fascinating that you, from very early on, did you seek that out? Or was that just sort of chance of fate that you ended up in that role and then you've continued and pursued that?
So what they do is when you go through your initial screening and exams and tests, that determines what roles are available to you.
IQ, aptitude.
Yeah, so you do like a general maths and a general English exam, and then a psychological and a few other bits and pieces. So, so that determines what area or what fields you can apply for and go for. So, this particular field was, it was well paid, and I sort of knew that it was always going to be around, because there's always that fear that they're going to get rid of your mustering, as they called them, your stream, which did happen while I was in. There was a couple of other different groups that were basically disbanded, and they had to move to a whole new field. So they they start from scratch.
Yeah.
So that's what led me to it, and plus I sort of spoke to a few people that were in that space that I knew, and they loved it, and the possibilities as well. So yeah, and it all worked out well. It took me around the world, and
Yeah.
opened my eyes
Here
up.
you are today.
Yeah, exactly. It's led to today, so where I am now.
Yeah, I didn't realize that about your journey, that it was literally like this has been a continuation from the very nascent of your career. Okay, so you started doing that. Is there anything else you'd like to share on that journey within the military?
I think probably the highlights. There's probably two highlights I have. Is when I was part of the fighter squadron that when the government made a decision to acquire the FA-18 Super Hornet. It was the first. We were retiring the F-111, which had been in service since the 90s. So it was and we're talking now about 2010, 2011 here at this stage.
Right.
So I was part of the team of going across to the US, and the US Navy were the ones that basically handed over the jets to us, because they were the ones that predominantly used the same platform. So we went to probably the biggest, one of the biggest bases in America, where most of the Super Hornet fleets are, or squadrons are, and that's where we flew around for 4 or 5 weeks, making sure that the jets are all good and everything's in place. And then we ended up flying back via Hawaii and Samoa, and of course, spend a few days in each location, as the CO requested that we do, to not overstress anyone. So it was a good opportunity to see the local sites at each location and have a few beers at the bars and those sort of things. So, so it was, and part of my role with them was setting up the mission planning support. So what a lot of people don't realise is these modern jets now are basically a flying computer. So the Super Hornet literally knows what to do, where to go, all off a PCI card that's inserted into the jet. So the pilots grab that, they grab the recording disc and literally plug it all in, turn it all on, records everything, and then brings up all the data that they need for the mission, depending on what they're doing. So I was in charge of building that system from scratch, making sure all the security was implemented, and getting all the intelligence feeds connected into it, and now the various bits and pieces, map updates, and all those sort of things. So we had a lot of communication back and forward between us and the US Navy. In setting up all those sort of systems up, and weapon systems as well. There's a lot of security and crypto involved with some of the weapons that we used. So,
right.
Especially the laser guided, those sort of ones where they don't want people that have the ability to intercept those communications between the jet and the bomb once it's released. So,
deliberately or accidentally. Yeah. I've seen war games.
Yeah. So that was the first one, and the second one was the deployment to Afghanistan, and this was now 2014. So I spent 8 months in Kandahar. 8 months in Kandahar. As part of the Australian government's UAV program. So we were flying.
Was that a combat role? Like, were you it was during a time of combat?
It was, we were in the combat zone. Like, we were on the base, but the Taliban were around everywhere, and we had incidences, rocket attacks, all that sort of thing going on all the time. Like when I first landed, we came in. So we all, everyone from the Australian Defence Force goes over pretty much to Abu Dhabi and goes to the Australian base there, and then from there they go out to all the different locations around the Middle East that we were at the time. So we jumped on a C-17, and then I think it was like about a 5-6 hour flight from there to Kandahar, and I remember we landed, and we've got, we're all suited up. We've got our weapons, we've got our body armor, all that sort of stuff. We've walked off the plane, and we're heading into the terminal. Now, the terminal there is ex-Taliban, ex-Russian takeover attempts. So there's bullet holes all through the walls. It was a real eye-opener when you first see, the first building you see. There's bullet holes and rocket holes all through it. But anyway, That's customs, in Afghanistan style. So we're in there clearing through customs, and there's probably, I don't know, maybe 100 of us, maybe a few more. And next minute, the sirens start alarming, and so a rocket attack was imminent. So that was my introductory to arriving, and we're all lying on the ground waiting for these rockets to hit, and one of them actually landed on the taxiway that we had just gone over after we landed. So it was purely just a timing thing that we weren't there at that time when it hit. But that was my welcome to Afghanistan for that trip. With the Heron, the UAV group looking after the mission planning system again for them, we were flying pretty close to 24/7. So daily missions, nighttime missions, 24/7 ops, pretty much. And that was real intense. Huge intel gathering, a lot of data shared between us and the other coalition partners that were around in there. A lot of, our role was mainly focusing on observations and target designations so that the bigger platforms could come in and do their thing. But we did a lot of, our guys, we had a lot of an army squadron there that were doing a lot of recon work and working with the Afghan army to train them and those sort of things. So we did a lot of surveillance for them on their patrols to see what was going on around them, in front of them, behind them, all those sort of things. So that was a interesting deployment, and then came home from that and did a few more years, and then I ended up getting out towards the end of, pretty much at the end of 2016.
Right. Okay. Yeah, fascinating journey. Wow. Yeah, just another side of that we. I've only seen it in movies. That it sounds like a pretty wild journey. And so you were involved in a range, from intelligence to equipment to, I guess, procurement on a massive scale to cybersecurity directly. And then, so was that the natural? Was it always going to be to start something like what you're doing now?
Yeah, I pretty much once I made the decision a couple of years before I left that I was looking to leave. I knew that I needed to get into something that was going to once again be sort of future proofed, and not something that
Sure.
was looking to disappear anytime soon. So yeah, cybersecurity was being talked about and mentioned, and starting to become a bit of a thing that companies need to start looking at. So yeah, started my journey, my studies, and yeah, started focusing on what does that look like for me. So after I left the defence, I did quite a bit of contract work. So everything from business advising through to, I guess, my next big thing that I did was the technical director of operations for the Com Games in 2018. So
Right.
that,
Yeah. So
um,
what was that? And that's outside the military. Like that was not a
yeah, so I've
military
left.
thing, but it was.
Yeah, this is 2 years after I've left. Basically, yeah, got a tap on the shoulder and say, hey, do you want to come and help run the Com Games as part of the Optus contingency that won the tender to roll out all the technology and security and everything for all of the locations. So there was about 50 locations in total for the
Mhm.
games.
Okay.
So yeah, so jumped straight. Like literally, I had no idea what I was doing. To be honest, when I first that first week was just an eye opener for me to look at and figure out who's who in the zoo and what was going on and what our mission and what we were looking to achieve and do and all those sort of things. So and then just mainly forming relationships with all the key players and partners and things like that. And then on top of that, I had to look at, well, we need 200 240 engineers, technical engineers. So okay, we need to recruit people. So engaging with recruiters, getting all the onboarding of that all under control and done. Project managers on top of that, and then forming the locations up and matching them with the personnel. So putting the right people in the right locations, and then partnering with the Commonwealth Games Committee as well because they had their own people in there doing certain things, which sort of worked side by side with us to a degree. So yeah, all the paperwork, all the reporting, all of that sort of stuff, all done from scratch as well, because this had never been done before to this scale,
Ah.
let alone anything in Australia of that nature for a long time. So it was all
Well, yeah.
yeah,
Maybe might have been our last
oh,
international,
yeah.
or
You got
the
Expo, and then you've got the the 80s? Was it the 80s? The last time a games was held in Brisbane or wherever it
yeah,
was.
82 Commonwealth. Yeah, 82 was in Melbourne, I think.
Yeah, actually, you had Melbourne as well, but yeah, there was so it'd been quite a while anyway. And things, as you know, technology changes pretty quickly.
Oh,
So what we did 10 years ago is not how you do it now. 10 years later, so yeah, there was a lot of IP generated that was new.
interesting. And I guess, I mean, there are the Olympics and those sort of international sporting events do seem to attract terrorist activity. So I guess like that's the primary thing to detect and prevent anything like
Yeah,
on that level. But then there would
yeah,
be even small like dealing with drunks. How do you swiftly identify someone who's on crystal meth and causing dramas internally, or you
yeah.
know?
So we had the Defence Force engaged, providing that level of security, and then we had the Australian Federal Police, and then the local police as well. So it was multifaceted, multi layered.
Hmm.
That type of event has to have it.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that was at all locations providing those level of services. And then from a security perspective, we ended up flying guys over from Cisco in the US to manage the cyber security for the whole games because we soon realized that we just didn't have the capability or even the knowledge at that stage either to provide that level of service that was required. And yeah, the technical know-how. So that was called pretty early. And yeah, the games ran well. We had no issues. There was no cyber attacks. There was no technical issues or faults for the 3 weeks that it basically ran for. So yeah, we all came out of
Wow.
it quite surprised that nothing went down. I mean, certainly working up to it, we did a lot of testing and lot of role playing and scenario based and those sort of things, and a lot of learnings from that, I guess, helped us. So yeah, we kind of, I think
A lot of preparation to
yeah,
ensure that nothing went wrong.
I spend most of my time in change management meetings because it was like, okay, this has occurred. What do we need to do to fix this or change this or look at it from this angle, that sort of thing. So, yeah, very heavy management meeting structured prior to going live, and then once it went live, it was more just a spot fire scenario case where we had I set it up pretty much like the military, where we had like a QRF team, pretty much like quick reaction force, but from a technical perspective. So we had a little warehouse on the Gold Coast that most of the tech guys were based out of, and we had a small team that were able to react pretty much at an instant to go to any site that had a problem.
When you say that, like, this is, it's not a group of guys with guns. It's a group of guys with pliers or a computer.
Yeah, a laptop under their arm and a pair of pliers, and yeah, it's the same
and a soldering iron.
But it's the same principle. You know, that's your tools of the trade. You know, your military tools of the trade are quite a bit different to a technician's tool of the trade. So, but the mentality is the same, and the processes and the thinking behind it and the structure is very similar. It's, you know, train how we're going to operate. And so that's what we did leading up to it. And then obviously during going live, it all sort of paid its way by the training and the operations that we did prior.
Yep. I don't know how much you can share on this level, but I mean, we're used to sort of seeing we're very familiar with World War II movies, and the bad guys, the Nazis have guns and the good guys have guns, and you got to, you know, just be faster than the guns. Warfare is changing, like even terrorism is changing, right? So it's moving more to cybersecurity and cyber attacks, like on an offensive level. 60 Minutes and various stations have reported on, you know, Taiwan being under attack with cyber attacks, and even Australia. Does that? I'm nervous to ask this question. How much can you say? And I don't know if you can say. And what would that even look like at the Commonwealth Games? Like, is a terrorist going to get a laptop and hack into the? What might that look like? And what?
To give you an idea of the Com Games, our public facing routers, so the routers that were then, you know, behind our entire network that we had built, they were constantly getting hit at attempts from hackers to try and get in.
Right.
So that's the level, and you'll be actually surprised. Like, so my telco company that I own in the South Pacific Islands, our core router that sits at the edge of our network, it's exactly the same case as well. I can sit there and pull up the log, and I can see all these attempts of logins happening every second. Like, it's almost every second. It just constantly flows. So
is that like there's some hacker in Ethiopia?
What it is there's a register of your IP addresses, right? So when you apply to the governing body who manages public IPs for everyone, you get issued that IP. Now, it's pretty easy to work out or find out what IPs are public and what aren't, just by the numbers that they are. So yeah, behind that, they won't know what equipment you've got, so then they won't know how the accounts are set up. So a lot of them are very pro Cisco and, you know, the big brand network type login attempts, which is common. So that's what they're aiming for, because they realize most of the market is in that brand.
So they're just hoping the door's unlocked.
They're just hoping that someone has made a mistake, like what's happened with, you know, like Medibank and not so much Optus when they were hit, but
right.
These ones that have just had these random attacks where they've left a test use, like the McDonald's with the HR system. So that was
it's the virtual equivalent of someone who hasn't locked their car in the car park, and some drug addict's gone through and flicked all the handles. Yeah, so it's not necessarily purposeful.
No, or someone, you know, parks in a car park and they've got someone on the other side of the car and they hold the door handle while you lock the car so that it doesn't lock the door on their side, so then they can get in. So it's that type of scenario.
Yep.
Not on purposely leaving it exposed, but there's not quite
ignorance.
That next level of checks being conducted that still leaves you exposed. So it's hard to it's hard to manage that. But I think that's where it then becomes important as to, from a cybersecurity perspective, who you choose to go with and what systems they use and how they use it. And I guess talking to them about the level of security that you're expecting. Look, nothing is 100%. We know that everything in this
Yep.
world, there's nothing 100%. However, if you can cover 99% of it, then you're ahead of the 1% that don't. So yeah, I think that's the most important thing to look at and get out of this is more not worrying about just getting cybersecurity, but looking at who they are, what they're providing, where's their workforce coming from, where's their systems that they're using coming from, who they're integrated with. Those are the type of things that I think are more important than anything else.
Yeah, okay. Can we discuss some of the horror stories lately? What have we seen recently? What's the worst one?
The McDonald's one is
Oh,
a
yes.
classic.
That was
So they
1, 2, 3,
outsourced.
4, 5.
Yeah. So what happened? And this is why, especially on my LinkedIn, I post quite regularly about this type of thing, and it's about the security of the supply chain. So there's a lot of companies in Australia that have outsourced their administration and other bits and pieces of services to offshore. So the Philippines, Indonesia, especially around AI and tech and those sort of administration roles. So McDonald's had outsourced their hiring platform to an overseas provider. Now, it had been going, so they set this up, I think it was 2016, 2018, somewhere around there. So there's about 64 million people that have applied through this platform since then that are on, that their details are still on this. So and that's a whole different
In a database.
why they've still got old data on this system.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
the guys that were paid to set up this system, this hiring system, had created a test account with admin rights, and it had been created since 2018, and it had the password 123456. Now, a hacker is going to use that straight away because it's one of the most common passwords.
Top 10.
Around. So, so it was actually McDonald's themselves that found this access and brought it to these guys' attention. So these guys didn't even find it themselves. Then, upon further investigation, they found that the account had been created. I think it was around 2018 that it got created, but it hadn't been used since then. So it didn't actually need to exist. So it should have been deleted and removed after that initial. I'm assuming it was used for initial setup and testing of access and whatever else. So it should have been removed as soon as that was finished. But that comes down to project management, whoever the technical manager was at the time, having those gaps. So account management is a big thing, especially in supply chain. Who's got access to your systems? What access they have? What data they can access? You really got to question through your own, what am I happy for them to have access to, and do I still need to have that data? I guess that's the two big questions to ask any sort of business that, especially offshores some of their services that have access to their business.
Yeah. Everyone does it these days.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some. You told me about a salon or a day spa or something in central Queensland.
Oh yeah, the beauty salon in Rockhampton. So
I mean, that's obviously a weakness in Australia, the very obvious target for international cyber terrorists. The salon in Rockhampton.
This poor girl, she had her email account hijacked, and because this email account, so your typical small micro business beauty salon, they're very Facebook centric with their advertising and growing their business. So her email was linked to Facebook and everything else. So as soon as the email was compromised, they then got access to her Facebook. They got rid of her business page. They changed all the email addresses. They basically stripped and removed her whole business from existing online. So her customers had no way of booking, so all the booking was all done through the online platform from Facebook. So
hang on, what was in it for them? Was it fun or was it
99% of hackers do it for fun. It's the
okay?
1% that get the ransomware payments. A funny fact, actually, cyber attackers is the fastest growing industry in the world, and it's also the highest paying per position, if that makes sense. So per
Yep.
hacker, they're earning more than any other industry in the world currently, and that's just based purely on stealing bitcoins, stealing money out of accounts, ransomware payments, selling of data on the dark web. So that's their revenue income streams, and yeah, they're earning more than anything else.
Right. So if they're in the third world, if they're in Ethiopia, instead of getting on a boat like we saw in, the pirate movie type thing,
Yeah.
they're becoming a digital pirate and they're making more cash than
Yep.
like on Captain Phillips sort of thing. But it's potentially that same sort of character.
Yeah. If they don't get any financial gain out of it, it's not a loss for them. A win for them is either just gaining access, seeing how far they can get, what information they can get, what disruption they can cause. A small medium business causing them disruption is a win for them.
Yeah,
And
right.
they don't get to see the fallout, but they're aware of it because obviously they've gained control, they've stripped this, deleted that, removed that. So yeah, it's almost like a game to them.
Yep. I know there was a guy in business advice who fell prey to one of the Facebook marketplace scams. So he called me up and he was getting money deposited into his account. And he had, when he called me, there was about 4 deposits. Are you familiar with this one? This style? Yeah. And just for anyone listening, I'm like, what's this? If you're getting money, like, what's the scam? And then a few hours
confirming that the account is actually active. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they're getting other people to pay him the money because they can't get the money into an African bank account. And so then a few hours later, there was like 20, 30 deposits. And then he started getting death threats from, Uganda or somewhere. And they were saying they're going to kill his family unless he transferred the money to Uganda from his Australian account. And of course, he called the police and the bank, and they have a whole thing. But apparently, there are thousands every day going on, and that's just that one type of scam.
Oh, there's a multitude of scams. Even investment scams as well. There's a lot of companies that are involved around fake documents and fake investment propositions, and getting you to pay fees to have access to venture funds which don't exist at all. It's all just made up, and it's them literally just getting, they may get 10 grand out of you or $1,000, whatever, but they've now got your personal contact details. If you've handed over any documents like passports or driver's license and things like that, even the KYC checks.
Mm-hmm.
They have bogus sites that they send you to do those checks. So they're always going to validate you no matter what. So yeah, they're getting a lot craftier and a lot niftier now. But there's still telltale signs like, wanting to only communicate on WhatsApp. The email address will be different to where they say they're from. Just doing a simple check of the business registration in whatever country they're saying, whether it actually is registered and exists or not. Even just even simpler again, typing in the company into Google and put scam at the end of it and see if there's any reports from anyone else that's been done by them previously. So they're all little things that you can do to safeguard yourself without falling prey to it. But
yep,
it still comes back to education. Like, you need to know that you can do those things to safeguard you. And that's where a lot of people get unstuck because they just don't know. And they're too, I'm going to say this, but sometimes people are too nice. They give the benefit of the doubt to people too much. But
especially in Australia, we're so coddled.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's changing now with more and more of these cyber attacks occurring. It's people are starting to wake up, and we talk amongst friends and family and things like that. So, and that's a level of service we actually provide to our clients and customers. customers as well is if you've got an email, for instance, that you're not quite sure about, you can forward it to us and we can check it, and we'll let you know whether it's legit or not. So we've got different software applications and just our knowledge ourselves, we can soon see whether it's real or not. So that's the sort of level.
Yep. Well, so I guess that's a great question. What is the scope of the services for that Regcor can provide Australian businesses?
So we'll probably give you a bit of background about Regcor and where we first started to where we are now. So
yes.
So when we started in 2018, because I was very heavily defence and government connected, we started in that space from the very beginning. So probably the opposite direction to what most companies head to.
Sure.
So we had a lot of those sort of contracts to run when we first started. And then probably 2-3 years ago, I sat down and thought, what's a sector of the market that is being underserved, and is there something that we can do to offer them more support, a better solution, better security, better cybersecurity. And we soon found that there was a lot of products out there globally. We looked globally as well at all the different types of software and products. And there was a lot of good ones, but none of them did everything that we were looking to do. And, of course, we're aligning ourselves to the government's Essential 8, ISO 27001, all the compliance, because it's important to align your compliance and your systems, and we'll talk about that later as well. But, so we pivoted and we basically built our own software with using all the different softwares out there, all their good points. We amalgamated it all into one. And so, so that's been out for 18 months now, close to, 18 months, 12 months.
And that's a service that Regcor provides for the average business.
Yeah, so this is what we provide to. We provide it to everyone. It's completely scalable. So it's everything from a one-man army e-commerce store. So they've got email addresses that customers can email them. They've got an email address that they use to talk to their suppliers and everything else. So it's about connecting into that email system in their data environment and securing it, and on the side of that, providing the training, doing the dark web scan monitoring that we do, and the cloud posture and all those other little services that are a part of the software suite. So, and then obviously scaled all the way up to government, councils, major suppliers, thousands of email addresses and people working for them.
Okay.
The level of security and service doesn't diminish if you're a one-man army as opposed to the government. We supply exactly the same service level across the board. So, in fact, as a small, medium enterprise, you're actually getting quite a lot of bang for your buck with this platform, because it's the same price across the board. As I said, it's just scaled on how many email addresses you have. And we're partnered with Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. So we're able to connect to both platforms.
Right.
And go in through their system, make sure that all the security is all set up correctly from their perspective, and then our system sits as a layer over the top to protect and monitor. Just simple things like if you're a real estate agent, you've got a proposal for a client, you want to email or share it to them. So you share that file, they have to sign it or access it, read it, and you forget to close it and it's exposed. Well, that's now an entry point for a hacker to get into. So our system will detect that file's open and it will just shut it down automatically. So there's very little input from a customer perspective as well. So 99% of it is automated. It's using AI to service a lot of those features. So, it takes away all the workload and the worry from the owner's perspective of their business.
Brilliant. I guess something like having security cameras in your home, like the thief who it's like, oh, fuck that, I'm not going to try and even break into it because there are. But if he does, if there's a positive identification, an alarm goes off and you can address it. Something like that. But it's not.
Yeah. Well, it's like, a lot of these attacks lately have, a lot of these attacks lately have been, their data's been found on the dark web 12 months after it was put on there. Now,
and they don't know until
and so they don't
the
know
AFP
that.
calls them or something.
But with our system, we will know instantly, like within a matter of seconds, that their emails are now linked on the dark web, because our system is constantly monitoring and
proactively scanning.
And this is the conversation around the difference between cybersecurity and IT. And even those IT companies that are saying that they're offering cybersecurity, it's moving away from that IT mentality of reactive to incidences to more of a cybersecurity focus of being proactive. So
That makes
that's
sense.
and look, we work with a lot of IT companies and businesses that have internal IT teams and those sort of things. But the level of support and the detail that we go to is very much a proactive as opposed to a reactive.
Yeah. Okay. Now tell us about. Okay, so there's the real benefit in that it will actually stop some attacks that they try to do and they can't get through because there's
Yeah, your
additional.
ransomwares, your phishing, all that. We've actually got a phishing platform, a phishing campaign platform built into it as well. So it will actually train you to learn what to look out for in a phishing email attempt.
Sure.
And we've got training behind that as well to back that up. So you know exactly what triggers there are in an email to see. The other
So
factor of it is
it's stopping. So you're learning how to better behave in a way that decreases the likelihood of an attack being successful against you. But then if they do successfully attack you or try to successfully attack you, you're cognizant that that's happening because there's something in place as well.
yeah, and our system, because it's constantly learning through the AI model, it sees what emails are being quarantined, what emails are being blocked. So then it stores those fields that are ID. So a particular email address, and the email address can be quite completely random, but there'll be certain sections that are similar or the same.
Yeah.
It will start
RU.R.
it will start recognizing the patterns, and so it will either quarantine or block them automatically. So it gets smarter and smarter as more and more customers and more data flows through it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we built that up at the beginning before it went live, but the system is getting smarter and smarter every second of the day.
Yeah, interesting. So there's those two layers. There's the preventative, the method which your day-to-day hygiene, your security hygiene, maybe we call it that, and then there's the prevention, like having security bars on your windscreen. Then there's also, we've talked about this a few times, where the government has brought in legislation to that there is a positive requirement for certain companies that have critical infrastructure. They're mandated to have cybersecurity in place.
Yeah, so there's two policies basically that companies pretty much from $3 million over in revenue per year and over need to abide by, and that's the Privacy Act from 1990.
Yeah.
Now that's looking to get reviewed and updated. They're aware that that's well outdated now with how far technology has gone, but also the new policy, the Cybersecurity Act in 2024. So that came out in October last year. Now that has mandated that no matter the size of the company, but the company and the directors need to make sure that they have a suitable level of cybersecurity in place within their business. Now, what that level should be is up to your own determination. And then on top of that, depending on what market you're in. So if you are a critical supplier, so say you're a telco company or a provider to an electricity company, so even if you supply services or parts to that industry, you're still part of that supply chain. So you're supposed to be at the same level as the telco company or the electricity company. So all of them have extra governance and regulations that they have to abide by. And that's where things like ISO 27001 and the new AI one, which is ISO 42001, come into effect. And so it's almost is a requirement that you have those in place. Now, obviously coming with that comes much greater expense and time and energy into those programs, but that's something that we can provide as well. Now, we can either work with you to get it done, or we can do the bulk of the work for you. Having said that, if we do it for you, then obviously that incurs a greater cost, but it still gets you the end result, which is that certification and having that level of security or cybersecurity standard. What I'm seeing, and this is the main reason why all these big Optus, Medibank, Latitude, they all had ISO and these governance in place, but it was their cybersecurity systems that let them down because their systems didn't match their governance and regulation that they had in place. So
What?
this,
Optus.
yeah. So the Optus one was
That's
one
to
was
fathom.
yeah. So the Optus one was an IT contractor on his own laptop connected into the Optus system, and their laptop was corrupt.
A subsidiary.
Yep. So there was no contractor supply chain management by Optus. There was no sterilization of devices prior to connecting, or no systems or processes in place for BYD, bring your own device type scenarios. So that for me is a simple solution of that contractor leaves a laptop at the location and they go there and they use it and then they leave. They don't take anything outside of that environment. The easiest thing, like anything, the easiest thing to secure an environment is to keep everything in the environment. As soon as you start
Sure.
bringing in things from outside, that's when diseases come. That's when, people that want to cause trouble come, all those sort of things. So it's coming back to that whole defense mindset, that military mindset of keeping everything self-contained, self-sufficient, and defending against the outside. It's just similar principles.
Yeah. Well, you can't lock the gate if there isn't even a gate, or a fence, like so.
Well, yeah, and I guess moving on to the next sort of thing, but a lot of companies have cyber insurance for their business, and they think that that's the right thing to do and have, and that protects them. But what I say to them is, cyber insurance protects the house, but you can't leave the windows and doors open. And the windows and the doors are the cybersecurity and the systems we use as a cybersecurity company to make sure that the house is secured so that the insurance is covering what you need it to cover. Because without either one, and there's been instances where cyber insurance hasn't paid out because the adequate systems aren't in place. Now, we work with a lot of insurance companies in a cybersecurity capacity, and we do a lot of investigations and reporting and things like that. And that's part of the criteria is, do they have the sufficient systems in place to have mitigated? And this is just human error. 99% of the time, no, they don't. So, they may not get the full payout, or they only may get a part payout or no payout at all, which has happened. And hence businesses go bust. They cease to exist because they just can't afford to pay the damage and, the reputational damage as well that happens after the incident. You can't really put a price
We've
to
just
that.
seen it with Qantas, McDonald's.
You wait till Qantas's court action comes through. You've got millions of people affected. There's already lawyers lining up for that case. Yeah, there's no excuses. At the end of the day, us as a cybersecurity community, we're all saying the same thing. We've got the products there to stop this from happening, but these enterprise level entities just aren't engaging.
Right.
They think that and that's an internal problem with their their CTOs, CIOs, CISOs, those head roles are going, yep, we're covering everything, we're presenting to the board, and we're going, yep, we're doing this, we're doing that, and it's almost like a typical IT provider discussion where they talk a lot of jargon, they confuse you, but it all sounds like they've got everything under control, when in fact they're doing like the bare minimum, if that, in some instances. Things aren't being managed correctly.
Evidently.
Which, Qantas is the latest one, McDonald's is the latest one, and it's going to keep on happening. I know for a fact, and we've done our own little assessments and whatnot, there's major suppliers to the government and the military that have huge security gaps.
Oh, right,
and
right.
Brought it to attention with some of these CISOs and CTOs, and one of them I was absolutely gobsmacked at, but he was a CISO at a major defense supplier, and I brought it all to his attention. It was one of the worst risk assessment scores that we'd seen by any company we'd conducted it for. And he said, "Oh, we're okay. We've got ISO 27001." So,
but that's like I've got the fence, but I don't have a gate, or
yeah. So once again,
like that.
The windows and the doors are open, but we're cozy inside. Thanks a lot. So yeah, I just said thanks a lot, no worries. But I know for a fact if they ever do get hacked and they get investigated by ASIC or the government, then we will be providing that information because they need to know that they've been approached and they've chosen, even though the facts are in front of them, not to have a further discussion at least about it. So, yeah, but we look, us as the Australian sovereign cybersecurity community, we need to start being more vocal around this because there's not enough companies doing enough in the cyber. And look, our software starts at $25 a month. It's not expensive. Like everyone goes, oh, cybersecurity and getting systems implemented, it's expensive. It costs a lot. It doesn't. I've got e-commerce guys paying $25 a month for this software that does everything: email security, dark web, training, phishing campaign, data. Like it does it all, and it's affordable and it's achieved. And like I said, it's scalable. So as you grow, obviously we grow with you, but it's all relative. And from where I sit in my position, there's no excuse for any business not to have this system because we're not here to gouge. We're here to provide a service at a reasonable and respectful service level and cost. We don't want there to be any roadblocks or excuses. Put it that way. That's our core feature. We've got other services and pen testing and ISO certifications and our operations center, which is that next level up. That's all at that level. And this is the whole reason why we built this and priced it accordingly, because the gap in the market's there. We just need to get the message out.
The sole trader.
Yeah, plumbing. We've got just about every market service now, everything from real estate to law firms to plumbers, trades, beauty salons, and then all the way up to councils and government bodies and those sort of things. So, yeah.
Right.
It's a very adaptable product that services the market from its full extent.
So the issue then is something on a cultural level. Like, we've heard back in the 70s and the 80s, you could just leave your door unlocked and everything was okay. But if you're in Brisbane today, you can't leave your car unlocked and there's car thefts every day. So the culture of security has changed with just everything. So I guess
I can walk into a company and 30 seconds, I know where their level of security is at just by the way they operate. Like car dealerships are a big one of this. And what you do is you go in, you go, hey, I want to buy that new car. And they're like, oh, come over here and sit down and let's waste 3 hours and talk rubbish and then I'll get you to sign the paperwork. And look, that's a whole different topic to talk about, the wasted process of purchasing vehicles. And the paperwork is still back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But you'll sit there and then they'll wander off. Oh, do you want a coffee or a water? So they get up and off they go. Now I'm sitting there, their computer screen's completely unlocked. Access their emails might be up or application. I could literally grab a USB thumbstick, plug it in, suck all the data out, pull it out by the time he gets back with that coffee. Now, having someone like us engaged, if you leave your desk, you lock your computer. It's as simple as that. Just the little things like that start getting your mind changing the way you're viewing security and cybersecurity, because everyone at the end of the day knows it's important and know that there's, things can happen and it's dangerous and, oh, she'll be right, I haven't been hacked yet, or I'll just create a new email address and things like that. So people don't understand until you've gone through it and experienced the pain of a cyber attack. It's, it becomes an educational piece about educating them about, look, this can happen. And a lot of people go, oh, no, that's bullshit. I'm like, you're free to call this person and talk to them about what they went through.
I think we need to start sharing some of these stories in business advice. I've got a lot of South American friends over there. It's not stealing $20 from your wallet. It's stealing the laptop and your life savings, your crypto, emptying out like the mortgage account on your redraw. Like they will take everything, and then you'll wake up the next day with a broken laptop, and you think, oh, I've got to replace my laptop, and it's like it's literally everything. Like that's common in Latin America. We're seeing that more on a virtual level, I think, in Australia. Like I've heard of just some of the horror stories here where it's not so much the violence and
No,
tech?
it's more about the confirm your account by clicking on this link and putting your username and password, and that's how they gain access. More of the Western strategic rather than the violent, South American, even Europe to a degree. Certain sections of Europe act like that as well. But yeah, I mean that's another aspect that this software takes care of in encrypting your device. So we actually encrypt the hard drive, and we can remotely kill it as well. So if you notify us early enough that, say, the device has been compromised or stolen, we can actually remove and kill everything on it.
Okay. If a thief, well, we're seeing a lot of that in Brisbane, like in southeast Queensland, and certainly in Melbourne. There's an extraordinary amount of break and enterings, like
Yep.
where the laptop is getting stolen. Not so much that cyber, like the Latin American type thing, but where they steal technology or steal a phone from a car.
Yeah, like they're aiming to get cut. It's happened on the Gold Coast. I saw it just yesterday that kids broke in the keys, but they got the phones and laptops. So yeah, and look, they're not there to gain access to data. It's more just a monetary thing for them to on-sell it to someone.
Yeah, so it's less likely for those things to be connected. It's more of a virtual hacking, phishing. So get the account details through something or the database, like what that other one. Well, there's a few instances you've shared where they're getting data and
Yep.
extorting, or just being a terrorist.
Getting access to an account that gives them the access to be able to grab the data that is of a monetary value. So anything to do with username access, company, IP data, those sort of things that you don't want to share with the outside world is absolute gold to them. So it can be a combination of both: stealing devices, sending emails. They can sort of work hand in hand at times as well. It's not just one or the other. So that's why it's important to get from a very early stage of starting your business to look at, because there's three risks in business, right? There's your financial risk. So what do you do with that? Okay, I get an accountant to manage my financials, and I am able to talk to them about my accounts, my financial, what should I do? Should I buy this? Should I sell that? That sort of thing. You then got your operational risk, which is you as the owner, the director, manage, and that's people management, systems within the business management, going out and getting new customers, acquisitions, all those sort of things. And then the third one is cyber risk, because it's actually now a business risk management. It's not a technology or an IT risk responsibility. It's a director and a business responsibility to manage. What people don't, the other part of the Cyber Security Act now is the boards, every board of Australian companies now have to make sure that they cover cyber risk as part of their discussion. And they're also responsible to ensure that there's sufficient cyber security within their company as well. So I've talked to many boards. I've got meetings later this month with a couple of boards of Australian companies, just purely on the cyber security, where they currently sit, what they need to be aware of, those sort of things. So, and I'm on a few boards as well to cover off on that and talk, to cover the cybersecurity risk to make sure that they're compliant as a board.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And so I guess that's the cultural issue, is that there's a blasé attitude. The IT industry has been previously responsible for cybersecurity, but now cybersecurity with AI and the way the world's going, cybersecurity is its own thing, separate from IT, or side by side.
It's becoming, I mean, going back to our earlier conversations around wartime, and cyber attacks will be one of the first things that's conducted. I mean, there's no coincidence as to why the Chinese ship circumnavigated the Australian waters. I can almost bet my house on it that it was because they were scanning the ocean floor for all the internet cables, so they know exactly where they are, so that when their submarines come along and they deploy their little cable cutters that they've got, they could literally isolate us completely from the outside world.
I'm on Starlink right now, but I mean,
us that have got Starlink, and I've got Starlink as a backup service to the NBN. And I'm fortunate that I've got a decent NBN connection, but I've got Starlink. So having said that, though, it's not guaranteed, because Starlink still needs to have base stations. Now, those base stations are connected into the NBN. So,
yep. And it's
unless
only like 2%, maybe, of.
yeah. It's like us. The Australian location is reliant on base stations. A lot of the South Pacific region is relied on the Australian base stations, New Zealand base stations. So only the bigger countries have these base stations. I mean, they cost millions of dollars to set up, so they're not an option for everyone. But yeah, so having said that, I think the internet would still go out completely, regardless of Starlink or not. And that's the first sort of positioning of the war, and then obviously cutting all the other essential services, power, water, poisoning or disrupting those supplies. Fuel, they would cut off the shipping lanes so that we would end up starving of fuel. We don't have a big fuel stockpile. We don't produce our own. Um, I know there's Porsche is an example that's starting to build refineries here in Australia for the synthetic fuel.
Oh.
So there's going to be a plant in Tasmania and Queensland. And the only reason why I know this is because they bought my auntie's
Cybersecurity.
house.
Oh,
They
right.
bought my auntie's house down in Tasmania. So she sold it, and she sold it to them because the director down in Tasmania is going to end up living in it. So that's the only reason that I found out that that's what they're looking at doing. So that was last year. So I'm sure they're well on their way. But yeah, we would be completely isolated, and then relying on whether US is going to come to our aid or not. But anyway, that's a whole
Yeah.
situation.
Well, it would be total mayhem. Like if those cables go down, everything, we lose everything overnight.
Business would come to a complete halt.
I mean, we even see it when the FPOS, like last year, the FPOS terminals went down on, I don't know, a quarter of the FPOS terminals went down for, 5 hours or something. And it was mayhem, like, because we don't have cash anymore. So how do you transact if you can't pay for stuff?
Yeah, and then all these people that are buying these Chinese EV cars, they don't realize they've all got kill switches in them. Now, Chinese factories have been putting kill switches in a lot of items. Recently, though, there was what was it recently that I heard? Like an aircon unit or something like random that the US FBI stripped and found kill switches built into it. So that's why a lot of companies now actually go over to China, because it's still cheaper to build and manufacture, but they actually own the processing warehouses now, as opposed to Chinese owning, or they've moved it offshore to somewhere else.
Vietnam or Philippines or
but
Thailand.
Teslas are built in China. BYD is one of the big car manufacturers. And look, a lot of countries have rejected these cars, and this is why I guess we've got a mass influx at the moment of them. And our car market is open. It's not like the US where there's only a certain number of brands allowed to sell, and you've got to apply to sell cars or replace one that's leaving, in essence. So that's why we're getting a lot of this influx of EVs. But come a wartime, they can remotely switch them off. If power is cut, like what happened in the storms earlier this year, we had people in the neighborhood with EVs that couldn't drive because they ran out of power.
Yep. There's even, like, we saw with one of the young blokes in business advice last week, where he said something online. He doesn't know what he said, and the social media giant has removed all of his profiles, his business accounts, his personal account with all his family photos.
Yeah, I spoke to him.
It's devastating. Like, poor kid.
It's even gone to the point where if he tries to attempt to create a new account, because it's recognized him, it blocks him from even creating a new account. So he's literally stuck in limbo. So I'm actually working with him at the moment to try and get it restored, because by their own rules, they are supposed to advise you as to the reason why it's been removed, which he's telling me it hasn't been the case. So that's something we're working with. But yeah, that's as easy as it is for these software tech companies to basically isolate and shut sections of the market down or people down. They can literally just switch it off.
Yep. Now, if you're social media, a lot of businesses are entirely reliant on that customer interaction through social media.
Yeah.
More so than they realize.
Yeah, especially service businesses. Yeah, everyone that's heavily reliant on Facebook is very susceptible to Facebook's operations, put it that way. So
I mean, we saw it with Twitter previously, and I mean, it's it's all of them are guilty of it. And what worries me, so we're seeing that on the virtual social media platforms. What worries me is if we go to electric cars, not even in wartime, like what if you were to say something inappropriate or that someone deemed inappropriate on social media and you can't drive your car that day? Like
It doesn't even need to be on social media. Those cars record on their cameras and their microphones. So, you could be having a private conversation inside your car and, Xi Jinping doesn't like what you're saying about him and he'll go switch that off.
I just heard a knock at the door.
Yeah.
I mean, we joke about it, but I mean, I can't remember joking about this stuff in the 90s and the 2000s about what's happening today. Like now, it's happening, and we have to. So there's probably this is another level of cybersecurity that is probably, it's outside probably the scope of Regcor, but I appreciate Regcor, you as helping that young bloke we were talking about. So it's this intersection of like just life and the ability to free speech and to talk freely amongst and make jokes that might be slightly inappropriate. Like, there's nothing wrong with a bit of joking around. But then that is affecting our ability to live and work, which is, we're meant to be secure so that we can enjoy a life like that. So it's a tough one.
I guess that's why you get a Discord, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, no, it is. It's becoming more and more restrictive and more controlled. I think that's probably what more it is there's more control in place now than what there's ever been. So, people jump up and down and complain that they lose access and these sort of things, but they forget you're at the mercy of the platforms you're using. And, they have their guidelines and they're getting stricter and stricter. There's rumors now that we're going to start getting asked to verify our age to access online platforms. The government's working on that as a system to come in to, and it's more focused around the teenagers and the bullying and the online recordings and all those sort of things in schools and stuff like that. But, there's more and more control systems coming in place to manage us as a society.
I get it on the level that, like, so if a business has staff and then they've got a filing cabinet, and in that filing cabinet there's bank details and personal medical records, and then the employer doesn't have a lock on that filing cabinet and leaves it open and then the wind blows those personal documents everywhere, well, they're liable. Like, that's not acceptable.
Yep.
So I think that there is a good argument for increased security and addressing criminal level activity. Sure. But yeah, there's a line there somewhere, and the lines are blurred at the moment, which is a bit concerning.
I think the big thing is you look at the AI market, right? So the AI market's getting more and more, and most of us have probably seen those gorilla videos now going around, which I think are absolutely little golden nuggets. I love them. They're a little bit politically incorrect, but it's all in good, light humor. We as a nation don't have an AI policy in place at the moment. So there is nothing to stop anyone from using AI to monetize or disrupt or cause any type of damage. Or, you can, if you've recorded someone's voice and got a picture of them, you can pretty much duplicate and replicate them using AI now and create your own videos. We've all seen the fake Tom Cruise videos and other famous people that have been taken over. So there's nothing in place to stop people from that at the moment. There's no, there's talk about putting a watermark or a disclaimer at the bottom of each picture or video stating that it's AI in use. I did read last night that YouTube has made the decision that they're going to stop the monetization of AI produced videos.
Interesting.
So that's going to really cause a bit of disruption because there's a lot of people using AI videos at the moment, all these fake AI models and people talking and things like that. Yeah, so that's all going to come to a halt. YouTube's working on building their own AI detection system to block those videos so they won't be paid for the views.
which is probably good. There's so much out
Oh,
there now, which is just
I agree with it 100%. I mean, I think there's definitely a place for AI, and look, everyone talks about how far our AI will get and the level of security required and things like that. But I think it will get to a certain point, and then the governments will start reeling it back in, because otherwise the governments will cease to exist because no one will be working, and that's the reality we're
well.
looking at.
I saw one pop up last week. It was an AI vid. I can't remember what it was promoting, but it was an AI regeneration of Anthony Albanese. For international followers, Anthony Albanese is our prime minister. And it was, you could tell, I mean, I could tell it was AI. It was very obvious to me, but obviously it's fooling some people for them to be using it. And Anthony Albanese was commanding to buy this service as for some reason, which is, man, like it's wrong on a few levels. Like, but impersonation and then it's fraudulent. I mean, that's breaking a few laws. That one. What do you? I mean, how do we address
Yeah.
these?
Well, that comes back to what I said before. The government needs to implement an AI policy.
Yeah,
That's the only way around it, and it's worrying that they're not even talking about it. I mean, we're too worried about going over to China and sprucing our tourism industry. Yeah, and let's not start the conversation around our current prime minister and leadership politicians. I mean, AI is probably in a worse position than what cybersecurity is at the moment, but they do have gaps. Cybersecurity's got an educational gap. People are having a full understanding of what it is and what's out there and what to have in place. And then, a separate conversation around the governance and rules and regulations to match the cybersecurity services. So that's that angle. And then, AI, just the government needs to get off their ass and get a policy in place to manage it, because it's going to get out of control very quickly. It's developing so rapidly. It's going to get to the point very soon where you're not going to be able to tell the difference.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it's already happening to a certain level of the population who are a little bit naive or older or whatever. But it is unbelievable how good it is.
There's platforms out there now where you can record your voice and then it uses that, and you can literally type in what you want it to say, and
Yes.
it sounds exactly like you. I mean, there's a slight little twang to
Yeah.
it,
Yep.
like a
Yep.
digital twang, but yeah, that's
It's
only a matter
pretty
of
damn
time.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very liberal. Like, I'm a classic liberal. We need sophisticated laws, and what we're seeing is this. This is my opinion, and tell me what you think. But we've got the e-safety commissioner like pushing ridiculous regulation that is just totally unnecessary and extraordinarily extreme. But we're not addressing real issues of like falsification, fraudulent activity with AI. So there's probably new criminal laws that need to be written, and then what policy, like what do we do proactively to avoid deception? Is that it? Is that the answer?
Yeah, absolutely. There needs to be a standard put across for all pictures and videos and recordings that are done have to have a disclaimer of some shape form that is either audible or viewable, probably a combination of both. So it covers everyone in the public, whether they're deaf or blind or vice versa. So there needs to be something in place that covers everyone to make them aware, and also to hold everyone accountable that's producing that product, so that they can't carry on as though it's all, made from their own doing without any inputs from anyone. So it needs to be authentic, and it needs to authenticate the product that's been put out there. What that looks like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then so you're saying potentially it could be like a watermark and like an audio mark even.
Yeah, a watermark. That's probably best to have it built into the platform. That's this has been detected as AI, and it automatically puts it on there. If you leave it up to the control of the author or the producer of the video or the audio or the picture or whatever, then there's still going to be gaps there. So yeah, it sort of falls under the same banner as the whole, restricting the age of access to Facebook and online platforms. Like, there's no easy solution,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we need to have some sort of solution to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on that one? I generally take the classic liberal argument, so let it free and let parents govern kids. But there are some real issues with on a cybersecurity level, and we've got child sex predators online. We've got various issues. So I mean, like that's a tough one in itself, isn't it?
Look, I think, yeah, it's a combination of educating the parents. There's a lot of parents out there that are either let their kids have full
Oblivious.
access and don't really manage it, or they manage it to a degree, but the kids are able to work ways around it. So, limited access via their home router or their devices, like family links and all those sort of different software platforms and things like that. Like the kids are able to easily get around that. Yeah, I'm all for government doing what they responsibly need to do, and then parents themselves doing what they responsibly need to
Yep.
do. Well, it's a combination of both. I don't think you can leave either one out of the equation or on its own. It has to be a combination of both. So the government, I guess, is responsible for implementing the rules and regulations and the Criminal Act and updating that, and also start focusing on the education to the masses. So, running ads and putting information out into newspapers, not so much these days, but online ads and those sort of things, so people are aware of the dangers and how they can address them. Yeah, it's a hard one because it's like everything now. It's hard to keep up with the latest technology and the trends, and like everything, there's Facebook, there's Snapchat, there's X, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. What other platforms are going to launch later this year, next year? It's not as though you can just wrap them up in a ball and secure them, because there's always going to be that extra one outside that the kids will migrate to and go, hey, we can access this and talk freely. Telegram,
Yep.
WhatsApp, and all these other chat and messaging services. So, yeah, and the whole child exploitation is it's horrific. It's on such a
Yep.
scale that people don't comprehend just how severe it is. It is next level. And the mum and dad, their 13-year-old daughter or son in their bedroom on their phones or their computers, it scares me. Like even just things like that, like no phones in the bedroom, computers out in the lounge room or the family table.
Up
Just
to a certain age, hey, like
up to a
12,
certain age.
15,
Yeah, like
10
you've
or...
got to have a level of parent protection for your children in place. You can't be naive about it, because the amount of kids that have been exposed. I mean, worst case scenario, suicides.
Yeah.
That's
So we see that with the cyberbullying, like the...
yeah, the cyberbullying, the friends, supposedly friends, telling them that they should end their lives and they're not worth it, and all this sort of rubbish that goes on in line between kids. The latest one as well with the childcare worker, and the exposure that he had. Now,
Oh,
why they were allowed to have devices in the same area as kids, I have no idea why.
oh.
Then the supervision, why is there one person left to manage those kids in a room by themselves? And then the security CCTV. And I understand there's certain areas that you don't want to, like toilets and those sort of things. I get that. But a lot of this happened in the common areas, and there's no footage, there's no evidence in that regard, which, that's just once again, comes back to like the cybersecurity, comes back to the systems. You've got the rules and regulations, and you've got, that
Yeah.
that broke down as well with, blue cards and white cards and all that sort of stuff that, blue cards more for this one, but, that's your rules and regulations. But what's your systems over this side? Oh, we don't have any systems for mobile or, your own devices having access when you're working with children. There's no CCTV. There's no, second person to cover each other if anything does occur. You've got a witness, because that protects you both in a good way and a bad way. If something happens, it's not just there to catch you out. It's there to also protect you, because if you get accused of something, that second person will go, well, hang on, no, that didn't happen. Because kids sometimes say things. I get that. We've probably all done that ourselves. You make a story up, or something happened that didn't quite happen, and make it bigger than Ben Hur, and then next minute an adult or a person or a carer starts getting questioned. So it's removing all of that risk, and exactly the same as cybersecurity in your business. removing that level of risk and exposure, and just having that little bit of peace of mind at night that you know that you're secured, monitored, protected, and yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. That systems and processes, and that's what we're seeing. Like, I see in business advice where some of the lads are getting into trouble is that lack of systems and processes too. Like, just not just with the cybersecurity thing, like that's with everything across the board. And
Yeah,
there's kind of like levels. There's like where it's critically bad to a point where there's no systems in place and there is dysfunction, through to there are systems in place and they're not being followed, and through to great systems and they're being followed.
yeah. So I'll give you an example of that. So today I got a new customer that's coming on board. Now it's a couple, right? Small entity, two people. They're older, used to be a surgeon, and he's sold his business, made a lot of money, and now they want to use this money to start investing in real estate and other bits and pieces. And this is both nationally and globally as well. So it's not just a local little small entity. So I had an initial phone call with him today just to introduce, say hello, and then start mapping out the onboarding, because it's a little bit different to the standard. And I soon realised that they were looking to manage and run this whole entity, and they're setting this up as a business. It's not just a private thing. So they want to actually set up an investment firm, but they'd set up a Gmail account, and they were expecting to run this investment firm off a Gmail account. So I had a very quick and direct conversation around what that looks like in running with a Gmail account as opposed to a proper domain, and then connecting into either Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, and the security that comes with that. And then obviously our platform that connects in, because our platform doesn't connect to a Gmail. Gmail is not built for security. It's built for email access, and that's it. That's why most of the time we have a Gmail account and it's a burn account. If it gets taken or hijacked or anything, we'll just create a new one. No one really relies on that too much, especially from a business perspective. At least they shouldn't. And if you do, then I would seriously look at that first step of your business systems and processes in converting to a proper domain, and using a proper management system like 365 Google Workspace. So we're first stage for me is going to be getting them onboarded into Microsoft 365, and then setting up all the security within 365 itself, and then obviously our system connects into the back end of 365. So then getting them on board with the monitoring and the systems and processes for that, and then all the other things will follow that. So that's now starting to fall into, and this is a little bit of a side note, but some of the business advisory work that I also do for people that sort of reach out to me at various times. And it's now having those discussions of going, okay, this is my business. This is what I want to achieve. What systems and processes do I need to have in place? How do I go about getting to that point of where I want to be? What do I need to be aware of? Risk, compliance, rules, regulation. And it's not just about cyber, it's about business in general. So, what are your financial regulations you've got to be aware of? What are your operational awareness? What's your exposure? For some customers, I've done a full business plan, risk report, market reports as well. So is this a good idea? Is it worth investing X amount of money into it? Is it worth going out to investors to find the funding? What other competitors are out there? Is the market ready for my disruption that I think I can cause? So yeah, all of that sort of thing as well, which is what I do on the side.
Yeah. And I guess we should briefly discuss that as well, your involvement with the startup community. So I think that might have been one of the ways we initially interacted was in the startup space. What's your involvement there? What do you do in that space?
So I've been part of various startup groups over the years. So the one I'm currently involved with at the moment is the GC Hub, obviously here on the Gold Coast. So they have a lot of investors that come in. So I'm one of those, but also they get gives the opportunity for people that have an idea to come and pitch in a non-formal environment where people like myself and other business owners that have got to a certain level or been and sold businesses and got the experience can come in and give advice about their pitch and about their idea and things to take away and think about and work on. Or if it's a good idea, we go, hey, come under our umbrella and we'll help support you and get this going and whatever else. It's creating an ecosystem that's open and allowing people to express their ideas, and especially around the tech space and the AI and all of that at the moment. There's a lot of people here on the Gold Coast that are looking to get into that area and got a lot of ideas. So it gives them a platform to let everyone know about it, but in a safe environment without getting, absolutely slaughtered with that idea and told that they're crazy and got no idea what they're talking about. And
like Shark Tank.
Yeah, like a Shark Tank where they would literally just murder 99% of these people that stand up. So yeah, it's good. It's only recently started, like probably last 6 months. So yeah, it's not a new thing. So they've moved to this GC hub has been going for a few years, but it's sort of there was a few things that occurred and there's been a few moves around, and they're now located down at Southern Cross Uni near the airport there at the Gold Coast, and they've now got some university backing and they've got a whole office space there within the university. So, and they're engaging with the students, especially the ones, studying business and entrepreneur and all that sort of stuff. And they're really engaging with the local business community as well. People like myself and other business owners. So, so that's mainly who I'm involved with at the moment from a startup perspective.
Yeah, brilliant. That's brilliant. I've seen you've helped out a bunch of the guys who are at varying stages of, like, from the conceptualization phase through to the business plan and the funding, and at various stages. So you've got a lot of personal experience, but also on an advisory level. I know you've helped a bunch of the lads in business advice and that. So yeah, thanks so much for that. And it's it's a rare combination to have all of those levels and experience. So that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that really impresses me. I'll say this is you've got a real drive for service. Like, it comes through with everything, and it's obviously been doing it your whole bloody life. Like, from day one, like 19 or so, like you wanted to serve your country. But I mean, as soon as you were into business, before I'd even met you and had a conversation, I saw you helping guys randomly in the group. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? So it's bloody awesome, man. Like, I really admire that. Hey,
I think I didn't have anyone helping me when I first started, and it's learning through the failures and the triumphs along the way, and it's a very lonely journey. Like, entrepreneurship is extremely lonely. You don't, a lot of the times, like for me, I've got probably one or two mates, even from school. I've got one schoolmate who's actually a client of mine, but he's got his own brokerage company. But other than that, there's no one else in my immediate sort of circle that is doing what I'm doing. So it's very hard to have those conversations, with your friend group in that environment, about these sort of topics and things. So I'm always quick to help people out as early and as quickly as I can, because I know how lonely it can be. And look, we don't know the answers when we first start. And I think what I do say to people that have an idea and look to start, find someone to help mentor you as soon as you can. And I do that for quite a few people, everything from non-for-profits to ideas to, companies that have been established for a couple of years, all the way up through to, some of the boards that I sit on. Like, I'm on the board for US Water and medicinal marijuana and, some big entities, and that's a whole different conversation, but it's still providing that level of support and service to that business. So I've done it. I've felt it. I know what it's like. So I try to make sure that I help as many people out as I can to not have.
Yeah, and you actually do it. You actually go out of your way to really help out the lads, and especially the ones, like, not just the guys in the startups in your space, but guys who are blue collar workers and like it's really cool, man.
I've literally gone face to face out onto sites and talked to some of the guys in the group, and to learn about them, what they want to do, what they want to achieve. And had real conversations with them about what to be careful of, what path we should go, what direction, those sort of things. So, And look, I'm very direct when I communicate as well, and I think people appreciate that at that level. There's no bullshit, there's no bravado,
Yep.
there's no agendas. It's just business is business. It's pretty much the same sort of system and structure for everyone. It's just a matter of what do I do now or what don't I do now.
Yep, yep. No, but you're very professional as well. I've seen it a few times now, like where you've said things that are, it might be uncomfortable, but it's a sophisticated, thoughtful way of doing it. It's not brutal like the classic military. It's honest and it's direct, but it's professional. And so, yeah, you're absolutely nailing that from everything I've seen. And it's so needed. Like, there's not. Where else do you go to get it? It's just such a rare
Well,
thing, and
the problem is there's either nowhere to go, or there's guys like us, or you've got to pay thousands of dollars to a business coach or an advisor each month.
yeah,
And look, to be frank, most of them are rubbish as well, because let's be real, most of them have never owned a business and scaled it and sold it and moved on, or had the experience of running a big corporation. So that's one of the unregulated professions out there that exist. Yeah, I'm very wary when people start saying, "Oh, I've got this business coach or this business advisor, they're helping me." But as soon as we start having a bit of a more in-depth conversation, you soon realize that there's gaps that these guys aren't being either shown or having discussions around.
Yeah, absolutely. I see it all the time, like being
And look,
with business advisor.
that's not knocking business coaches and advisors. There's some really good ones out there, but like every industry, there's always going to be those sharks, or those certain number of people that I guess.
There's certain specialties. There's guys who are psychologists who specialize in the executive, like the well-being of the individual, and there's others who are have run a business and that they've sold it for 8 figures and now they want to help others. So that's a rare subcategory, so they're the best. But I see it quite a lot. Definitely, it's definitely true. Yeah.
So it's about, for me, from my perspective, just offering honest advice, and hopefully it's helpful advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I've personally benefited. I've changed. I listened to you about my CRM. I won't mention any names, but I don't have that anymore. So anyway, and a bunch of other things too. It's invaluable. So yeah, thanks so much for all your contribution to the group so far. Where can they find Regcor?
So they can go to the website, regcor.com.au.
Put the link down below.
Yeah, we'll put a link up, or they can email sales@regcor.com.au, and one of the team will be in contact. But we can do a free risk assessment on your current cyber posture and state, and then we can have discussions around what areas you're good in and what areas you're sort of behind in, and work towards improving your security position.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks again, Damien. Really appreciate your time today. And it's so good hearing more of your story. So I learn something new every time we chat. So it's just a wild ride. So yeah, and thanks again for being such a valuable part of the business advice community and helping all the younger lads and everyone else out. So we really appreciate it and everything you've been doing. So thanks, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Talk soon.
No worries.
Thanks for listening to the Business Advice Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.